kinaiyahan ning kalibutan, balanong gasagi kan sa kahitasan. Yahay! Ang kinaiyahan ning kalibutan, balanong gasagi kan sa kahitasan. Angay kining ampingan ug pagabantayan, ug paglikay niini sa kadautan. Kay ini ang iyas liunay nga bahandi alang sa tanan ug sa mga kaliwatan. Lusay nga tinungdan sa tanang panginahanglan, bugtong dampanan sa atong kaluwasan. Ubang kahayupan, mga butang sa dagat ug sa mga kasabaan, mga tanong sa patag ug sa mga kabunturan, mga kakahuyan ug mga kabulakan. Ang labas nga hangin ug lunaw nga palibot, sa dugan mo hupay, sa suliran mo pagaan. Ang init sa adlaw, tinugdan sa kahayag, suga sa kinabuhi kanatong tanan. Kinaiyahan ning kalibutan, balanong gasagi kan sa kahitasan. Angay kining ampingan ug pagabantayan, ug paglikay niini sa kadautan. Kay kini ang iyas liunay nga bahandi alang sa tanan ug sa mga kaliwatan. Lusay na tinungdan sa tanang panginahanglan, bugtong dampanan sa atong kaluwasan.
Hashtag RYMECQ, Redemptorist Youth Ministry. Evening Chikahan at Quetohan is an online talk show by RYM Davao that tackles current and relevant issues and concerns of the youth. This is a response of RYM Davao to the limitations and restrictions set by the government and Local Church of Davao in mass gathering. Through the use of media, RYM Davao reaches in a creative way to their co-youth.
Friends, fellow young people, mga ka-RYM here watching us and those viewing us live via Facebook, welcome for tonight's show.
This is hashtag
RYMECQ.
RYM Evening Chikahan.
At Quetohan. Good evening, Chanel.
Good evening,
How are
ka-RYM
you?
Zulu. I'm very
Kumusta na?
fine. I'm very excited for this second episode natin, of course.
Yeah, that's right. After 1 month now, we are here gathered for another episode of this hashtag RYMECQ. So, Chanel, we thank our
Yes.
very good
Ilathala Performing
Yeah,
Arts.
that's right.
So, we will see more of them later pa. So, meron pa silang isang sayaw pa later on. Okay? So, thank you so much, Ilathala.
Thank you very much. So we are now in our second online talk show hosted by the Redemptorist Youth Ministry of Davao, and allow us to give you a short introduction for tonight's relevant and meaningful show.
And just a short recap, ka-RYM Zulu. For our previous episode, we discussed the topic on healthy coping amidst fear and anxiety.
Yes, that was a very, very wonderful topic. In
Yes,
fact, there was a
yes.
very fruitful and meaningful sharing from the youth as well as from our pastoral counselor. And this time, we know very well that September is a season of creation, which concludes actually this very day on the feast of Saint Francis of Assisi. But there's more in store for us, for the ka-RYM who are watching with us via Facebook.
And of course, we all know that October is the month of Rosary, and RYM Davao traditionally goes to JKKs or BECs within the parish to hold the daily Rosary Crusade. But because of this pandemic, the activities of the youth are limited. However, our spirit of resilience and faith will push us through to come together through the aid of social media.
Mao gyud dinhi gyud manggawa sa mga creativity sa mga batanon as well as
Yes.
those church ministers who are in different parishes and also here in our parish in the Redemptorist Church. So today, we officially open and introduce the Online Rosary.
Yes, of course. So, dili maging hadlang ang pandemic.
That's
so, dili
right.
madayon ang atong rosary. So, we would like to take this an opportunity to reach out the youth through the use of social media in the hope of deepening their knowledge about the Holy Rosary and nurture their faith through this devotion.
This time really calls us to become, deeply rooted
True.
to a deeper relationship with God, especially that we are facing a pandemic that we never faced before, no?
True,
Hindi
yes.
siya nga sitwasyon. And this is a situation which calls us to a greater faith, really. And in addition, for tonight's show, we tackle the encyclical letter also of Pope Francis, which was actually published 5 years ago, but still very relevant, still echoing, which is the Laudato Si. And we'll try to relate this in our discussion as well as our devotion to the Blessed Mother. That's
And
why
our topic for tonight is
Mary as womb of creation.
For tonight's matter, we invited a highly acclaimed speaker for us to connect the relevance between the encyclical letter of Pope Francis Laudato Si and the Rosary. Moreover, we also invited young guests who will generally share his understanding pertaining to our topic.
actually, Chanel, this I can still vividly remember when this encyclical was released. This
Yes.
was something groundbreaking, no? Many people commented about it. So, og dili na nato dugay-dugayon pa, mga ka-RYM. Our guest speaker tonight is a writer, an anthropology professor. He is also an artist, a missionary, and a Redemptorist brother. Let us all welcome Brother Carl Gaspar.
CSSR.
Good evening,
Good
brother.
evening, Brother Carl. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, mga ka-RYM, we are so blessed tonight also for another guest, another esteemed guest who will represent the insight of our young people, of course. He will share his erudition for tonight's topic with us.
Our guest for tonight is a BS Education major in Biological Sciences at Ateneo de Davao and studied environmental issues and natural resource management at East West Center, Hawaii through the YSEALI Academic Fellowship Spring 2019. Currently, he is undergoing the MA in Anthropology at the same university, learning more on our common humanity and making his passion organization, DYESabel or DYESABEL Incorporated, come to life with the Bajaos and Sea Gypsies culture-based education and other Bajao-related studies. He is also a part-time faculty under Ateneo de Davao Arupe Office of Social Formation, handling ASF classes this semester. And let us all welcome Mr. Amiel Lopez.
Hi, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, Sir Amiel.
Good evening. And also, Brother Carl, good evening once again. Thank you for your time. We all know that you are very busy, but you still managed to come with it.
Yeah, in fact, I think Brother Carl just came from a whole day event in the Redemptorist Church. So we had this organic, how do you call it? Organic market, no? The whole day.
Na-announce to sa misa ka ganina.
Yeah.
And of course, I know si Sir, di kapoy po siya online classes because he is a part-time faculty teacher from Ateneo. So thank you so much.
Yeah, but still, with their generosity, they really gave us this time. So mga ka-RYM, before we proceed sa atong main discussion karong gabi una, tuguti usab kami sa pag-auhag sa tanang mga ka-RYM viewers out there in our Facebook pages to like RYM Davao and RYM Philippines. You may also share this online talk show with the hashtag, or with this online talk show, hashtag RYMECQ to your Facebook friends.
We would like to ask our ka-RYM viewers to use our official hashtags on your posts. The hashtag RYMECQ, hashtag RYM Davao, hashtag RYM Philippines, and hashtag Mary as the womb of creation.
Naging niya itong mga hashtag.
Yes.
No? Tagas kayo, mag-trending na kita. And also, we are inviting our live ka-RYM viewers. If you have any questions regarding our topic tonight, if you want to address them to our guest speakers as we go along the way, you are very free to do so. You just comment your questions in the comment box in our Facebook Live.
So, before tamo proceed to our main topic, of course, we will have a break first, Brother Jolo, at
Okay.
RYM Julu pala.
To prepare us to embrace in this very wonderful discussion tonight.
Yes.
So, this hashtag RYMECQ will be right back after a short break. And now we're back.
Yes, and we are back and back na talaga. Okay, to start with, of course, Brother Carl, kumusta? Salamat kayo sa time, Brother Carl.
First of all, good evening, Jolo,
Evening.
Channel, and Amiel, and all the viewers of this talk show under the RYM. I'm fine, I'm okay. I'm really glad to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yes, it's our
How was your
pleasure.
quarantine experience, brother? After a few months, no? 6 months naman siguro. I lost the count already.
Well, you get used to it, and at first, of course, the level of anxiety was very high,
True.
a bit stressful. But after 3 or 4 months, once you are able to adjust to the new normal, and I developed new skills in cooking
Wow.
and did my gardening, I did a bit of writing. So, in fact, it wasn't so bad.
So, nasanay na po ka mag-mask na, Brother Carl, mag-face shield, no? Because
It
it's
really
the new
became a
normal.
fruitful time for Brother Carl, no?
True.
And how about Sir Amiel? Sir, how was your quarantine experience these past months? We lost count agad, sir, kung pila na kabulan ang atong quarantine, no? But I remember it was
True.
March.
Yes,
It began
March.
last March. So how are you, sir, after a few months?
First of all, thank you for the invitation, no, for the RYM youth and also the Redemptorist. it was, a bit of a roller coaster ride because I was intended to graduate last April, but there was no online graduation at all. But thank God, I am still here. I am continuing my studies in my masters and also doing a lot of things in my advocacies. So online webinars, etc. So those are the things we do, and I also have the time to also have a pause after college. So that was my experience during quarantine.
So sanayan na gyud, 'di ba? For the new normal. Thank you so much again, sir.
After finishing college, nisuludan si Sir sa iyang
MA.
masters, no?
Yes.
So, by the way, congratulations, Sir Amiel. Even though walay graduation na hitabo, but still tatak graduate gyapon, no?
Correct.
So, to begin our discussion tonight, especially that we have this very interesting topic on Mary as womb of creation. This is in conclusion for our celebration of the season of creation, as well as opening for another month, the Marian month of October, dedicated or given to give honor to Our Lady as Our Lady of the Most Holy Rosary. So diri gid magtuyo ang atong topic karong
Yes,
gabi.
and I'm very excited because about kay Mary ang
Yeah.
among topic for tonight.
And I know that this topic is very dear to everyone, especially that Philippines is considered as Pueblo Amante de Maria, very much in love with Mary. So to begin with, maybe we can ask our distinguished guest speakers.
Yes.
Usually when we refer to the Blessed Virgin Mary, what are the usual images or symbolisms that you perhaps or other people have associated with her?
So, si Brother Carl, si Sir.
Yes, Sir
Yes,
Amiel.
Maybe I'll start for my own imagery or symbolism for Mother Mary. So first is I symbolize Mary as Mother of Perpetual Help, or inhan sa kanuning panabang, because as I grew, I am into this prayer of Hail Mary, Hail Mary full of grace, and that to me is very striking because when we utter those words, when we utter those prayers, we try to intercede with Mary. So that's what's striking for me because Mama Mary has been that companion through life, and also a perpetual help, meaning to say always there to guide and help us, especially these times with the pandemic. So those were the symbolism. Additional to that is maybe Our Lady of Fatima, for the Rosary, for the Rosary, and a lot more. Aside from that, Mama Mary is the Mother of Jesus Christ, and it is also a symbolism of her being a faithful servant of God. So by saying yes sa calling ni God, she was able to accept it and also utter those words na let your will be done through the angel Gabriel to that time. So with that things in mind, Mother Mary really is a constant guide and also a prayer warrior intercessing with us and for us. So that is Mother Mary for me.
Wow.
So atong images good ni the Blessed Mother is very much inculcated through our catechisms at home and in
True.
school.
Yes.
No,
And yes, Brother
Ako
Carl.
din dahil I am a member of the Redemptorist Missionary Congregation, and the Redemptorists are, of course, very much associated with the devotion to our Mother of Perpetual Help. Inanalaging saklolo, kaya nga very known ang Baklaran. And wherever the Redemptorists are, we have a shrine or a church. That's where people gather every Wednesday. Pero ako ay lumaki sa Digos. Ang parokya na ito, ang aming patroness ay Mary of the Mediatrix of All Graces. Kaya bata pa ako, and of course with catechism and all that, our family already had a strong devotion to Mary. Later on, naturally, as I began to be more interested in what we call Filipino folk religiosity, dahil in matters related to popular piety, napakalakas ng debosyon ng ating mga kababayang Pilipino sa iba't ibang titulo ni Mary, no? From Manawag to Antipolo, to, of course, those coming from Fatima, Lourdes, and so on and so forth. Later on dito din sa seminaryo, dahil nagtuturo din ako sa St. Alphonsus Theological and Mission Institute, at one time, I also taught Mariology. So I got familiar with the discourse, the theological discourse of Mary, especially in terms of her role vis-a-vis the salvation history of humanity. Pero lately, dahil nga sa aking advocacy in ecology, I have begun to be much more attuned also to this particular aspect of Mary as mother, Mary as somebody also who cares about the earth, about the planet. Kaya nga itong theme natin sa talkshong ito, I feel I'm very close to that particular theme.
Mary
Wow.
Wombas
Yes.
creation, no?
So, daghan ma-associate na image
Yeah.
or ano. So, Brother Carl, you said while ago na na-expose ka with your family. So, kinsa gyud ang medyo nagtudlo sa imuha na nag-teach og rosary na, nag-orient sa imuha sa about the rosary po.
My mother, naturally, because when she was growing up in Tondo, Manila, and she was with her lola, and every summer, as was the traditional practice of many people in Manila, they went up to Antipolo. So the Virgin of Antipolo was very close to her. So when they migrated here in Davao, of course, as we growing up, she was introducing us to the Rosary and Marian devotion.
Same me. Because my lola also teach
Imong
me.
lola
Yeah, you
sad.
taught me how to pray the
Actually,
rosary.
akong lola sad po na nagtudlo sa kuha. How about Sir Amiel? Was there anyone who introduced you about the Blessed Mother?
Siguro to add is my parents. So my parents are very active in church and also sa on GKK, no. So because of that involvement during my youth days, no, bata pa ko, mga children, no, nag-appeal mi mga Flores de Mayo, for example. So kana ano mga early memories I can remember, also allowed me to continue my service and also devotion to Mother Mary. So kato ng mga times, specifically my parents, both of them.
Yeah, generally mga parents,
It's usually
lolo, lola.
the family, no? Ang mogi una magtudlo sa ato on
True.
these matters.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so kung kinsa lang po jud mo tabag. No, for our second question, why can we relate to Mary in relation to being the womb of creation?
Okay?
Brother Carl.
Ako'y mo sugod with this. You know, when we speak about womb, sa Cebuano sa Bakan, di ba? The womb is, of course, the source of life. It's from where human beings evolved. And of course, it's very much related to the functional role of women. Only women's womb would have the capacity to bear a child. So when in fact a woman gives birth, then we speak of her as mother. Kaya ang mga inahan, maumay nagpakatao ni mga bata sa kalibutan. To relate it to creation, why Mary would be referred to as the womb of creation, we can speak about the Genesis, the first book of the Bible. We know from the book of Genesis that God is the creator of the universe. Gikan sa Ginoo ang tanan na makita nato sa kalibutan. Galing talaga yan sa Kanya. Kaya masasabi din natin na ang ating Diyos ay lumikha ng mundo. And in that sense, we can speak of God having also a womb from where the birth of the universe arose. And that's why in many pre-conquest, pre-civilization, indigenous communities throughout the world, when they spoke about a deity, Diyos, o labing makagagahom, they always referred to a goddess, a mother goddess. We know, again from the story of the Genesis, that because man, human beings, the first man, Adam, sinned and then was condemned to leave the Garden of Eden, we can speak of man and humanity that came after Adam to have fallen. But the only way by which we can be redeemed again was for God to send His only Son. But that was only possible because God, in God's wisdom, decided in what we call the mystery of the Incarnation to show God's love for us no less than His Son was going to be sent in order to save humanity. But as the Son was going to be a human being, He needed to be born out of a human being. And this is what we now know is one of the mysteries of the Rosary. When Gabriel, the angel Gabriel, appeared to Mary to announce to her that she was chosen to be the mother of God. And Mary, in all her humility and in her wisdom and so on, said her fiat. She said yes to that invitation. And eventually then, and in another 2 months, we will be celebrating it. Kay Christmas is coming already. Mary gave birth to Jesus Christ. But in a way also, because as Jesus is also somebody that we speak of as the Savior of the whole of humanity, the Savior of the whole of creation, Mary's womb, so to speak, also allowed that particular reality to unfold. And that's why to me, you can really speak of Mary as the womb of creation. And for us today, dealing with climate change and global warming and all the problems we have related to the environment, the devotion to Mary in terms of her being womb of creation has taken on a much greater significance.
Thank you, Brother Carl.
Yes, na-overwhelm ko sa
Strong
pagbabalita.
gid kayo ang mother image, no, sa
Yes.
in this kind of discourse. Kay I also remember there are many people who also propose that, saying that God is also having that image of a mother bearing a child as well as nurturing it, no?
Yes.
So
That's the role of the mother, no? Nurturing the child,
That's
taking
right.
care of the child. So, we're very unblessed. Yes,
yes, Sir
Sir
Amel. Perhaps Sir Amel can also add some insight.
Siguro to add, for what Brother had said, Mary as womb of creation can also be an inspiration or can be associated to Mother Earth. So that image of how we portray Mother Earth to protect, as what Saint Francis of Assisi, as like the Mother Earth, Brother Sky, all of those nature element are part of a bigger family. So that for me is like acknowledging that Mary, in all its creation, in all its beauty, is there for us. And also, for example, as youth, we can be with her in intercession, and at the same time in caring for common home. Especially now, we are with the health crisis, at the same time climate crisis. So both are crises at the same time affecting the youth and the generation of today and the future. So because of that, Mother Mary, as a womb of creation, as what Brother have said, is our inspiration to continue, because this is the calling of our time, and our environment right now is really challenged, and also as we associate crisis. Crisis, we are a state of crisis where it is an emergent thing that we can respond to. And Mother Mary as womb of creation is our inspiration to continue, as how she how she become faithful to God, of really going until the very end of Jesus' life, at the piet of the cross. That also to me is a way of affirmation of our efforts to care for a common home, that like Mary, of being a faithful mother as a womb of creation, our role as youths and also every one of us here is to continue praying and also conversing or caring for a common home.
Yes.
Huwag nagkalalum nagkalatong discussion, Chanel, no?
Yes, but before we proceed to our next question, once again, we are inviting our live ka-RYM and all our viewers, if you have any questions regarding our topic tonight, or you want to address some question to our guest speaker, feel free to comment your questions on the comment box of our Facebook Live.
Yes. So kung may mga clarifications, feel free. So now, again, we proceed with our discussions. Bahal nagkalalom, but to those who have clarifications, again, please comment it or the comment box below. So with all these discussions on Mary as a womb of creation, perhaps people might ask, how does the imagery of Mary as womb of creation dovetail or relate to our own indigenous belief system? Especially that this October, we are also celebrating the Indigenous Peoples Month. So how can we relate these, nasama sa naisgot ni Brother ganina, no, nga, ang mga indigenous people before, their concept of God is a goddess.
Yes.
No? Who bears a child, who nurtures. And aside from that aspect, brother, do we also have other aspects which we can relate to these things?
Yeah, it's very important for us to address this question kasi by next year, 2021, we will be celebrating the 500th year ng pagdating ng Kristyanismo sa ating bansa. Dahil nga, March 16, 1521, as we know, Magellan landed in Humonhon and later on in Cebu, and there's also the news that he had the first mass in Limasawa, all of that. So by next year, marami sigurong mangyayari na commemoration nitong mga nangyari in 1521. Kaya maganda siyang pagkakataon na pagnilayan. Ano nga ba ang koneksyon ng ating mga katutubong mga ninuno at ang paniniwalang Kristyanismo na alam natin na nasa loob nito ay ang debosyon ni Maria. To me, as I said already earlier, it's very important to put it in the anthropological context of what indigenous peoples noon pa man, kahit na hanggang ngayon, samantalang hindi pa talaga nagbago yung kanilang kultura, have always believed in not just a male image of God. Tayo kasi, in the so-called Abrahamic religion, di ba, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, dahil nga sa patriarchy, medyo naging male image yung ating paniniwala ng Diyos, no? Kay God the Father, Allah, and so on. Pero sa mga katutubo, both male and female yung deity. Kaya may gods, may goddesses. Dito lang sa atin sa Mindanao, malapit lang dito, mga Bagubo at Giangan, they believe in Tuglibong, and she is a mother goddess. The Tiduray in Cotabato believe in Minaden. The Mandaya in Davao Oriental believe in Babawagon. Even the Tagalogs, the pre-Spanish times Tagalog, believe in Bataloman. So lahat ng ito ay images of goddess, mother God. This particular idea of God as mother, even pregnant mother, came to the fore, and which actually also led to some level of controversy in terms of Pope Francis. Because you remember, I think it was in October, there was an Amazonia Synod. They brought together many indigenous peoples from across the Andes. This would be the countries of Brazil, Bolivia, Peru, and Chile. Na parts of these countries have the Amazon. We all know that many people, original people, and even until today, in the Amazon forest are indigenous. And practically all of them across that mountain range believe in Pachamama, who is their creator, mother, God. And her imagery is she is pregnant, about to give birth. Now, Pope Francis recognized that because more and more the church is very interested in enculturation. And that's why in some ceremonies around the synod, the imagery of Pachamama was also displayed and even placed in one church just outside Rome. And some very conservative elements of the Catholic Church, of course, reacted rather critically about that. But to me, as an anthropologist, I really admired what Pope Francis did. Because since Vatican II in 1960-65, there's been a push already for the Church to be engaged in enculturation. And now, with Laudato Si, Pope Francis has asked of us na maging matindi yung ating pakikikawing sa mga ecological advocacy dahil nga sa nangyayari sa ating mundo ngayon. Kaya yung imagery ni Pachamama para kay Pope Francis ay napakahalaga doon din sa campaign for ecological climate justice.
Again, the image of a mother bearing a child is not only very much present in the Philippines, but also with the indigenous people in the other side of the globe, no?
Now I know na marami palang mga for Mary sa mga indigenous people sa na-mention ni Brother Carl kanina, no? Batchamama, sa Tagalog Brother Carl katong Bathaluman, yeah. So daghan gud kay maano kay Mary. So how about Sister Amiel? Na ba kay maano, sir?
Siguro to add to strengthen pud and pud kay brother, maybe it's also good to acknowledge that indigenous people's wisdom and life ways, like they associate their goddess and god to a woman, so siguro I would like to remind siguro and add na this year, we celebrate the economical year of dialogue, with indigenous people and etc. So it's good that we put them at the forefront of conservation, of environmental conservation. At the same time, to acknowledge that their efforts, their life ways are of inspiration to us, and it should move us to put them to sustainable invitation, like what Pope Francis have said in Laudato Si, na the calling really is to respond to both the cry of the poor and the earth. No, it's not just the earth itself, but also the poor in its sense. So we see the environmental degradation are happening right now. Like for example, the typhoon, even the pandemic, it hit the Visayas area, the Bagyong Ambo, and everything that is happening. Even though we are in a pandemic, it's still occurring. So because of that, it's good to be inspired, or also learn with them, as what as brother have said. So because of that, there's that essence and importance of dialogue and including them, inclusivity. So because we want them to be the leaders, not just part of it, but leaders of conservation, at the same time being inspired by their religion or way of life.
Yeah, this has really been the push these days, these times na we enter really into a dialogue, recognizing that there's also wisdom na ma-offer sa other party, whether be it the culture of the indigenous people or be it with other religious traditions.
Yes.
So dialogue is really the way to proceed these days, and this is a way to proceed when it comes to looking at the possibility where we can enrich more the ideas that we already have, and then other people might come in and also sharing their own ideas.
It's very helpful, no?
Yeah, very helpful, good kayo, and this is really the trend now. So now at this time again, with the discussions ongoing, we ask our RYM Live viewers to put your questions or clarifications or any sentiments in the discussion that is ongoing. Don't hesitate to put it there, and we'll try to see or sort out later the questions that we can raise to our guest speakers tonight.
Yes. Mga ka-RYM, #RYMECQ. We'll be right back after this short break.
Pinagsasalamat ko ang lupang kinagisnan, sagana sa kayamanan. Dagat, ilog at gubat, kalupaan pati kailalim-laliman, ginto at minerales, kumikinang sapat sa taong bayan. Mindanao, lupang pamana. Mindanao, huling dambana. Mindanao, lupang minana. Mindanao. Mga berdugo dito, nagnais nila na ikaw ay mawasak. Mga sakim na bighani naglalaway sa yaman mong taglay. Ang angkin mong yaman, tribo anak pawis na palaban, magiting na kasaysayan, sambayan na lumalaban. Mindanao, lupang pamana. Mindanao, huling dambana. Mindanao, lupang minana. Mindanao.
Adila, ikaw ang lupang pangako.
At ngayon kami sa'yo ay nangangako, ipagtatanggol, ipaglalaban ko, ipagtatanggol, pawis at dugo, ipagtatanggol ang katutubo, ipaglalaban ko, kinabukasan mo.
Mga natitirang lutian sa lupang sinilangan, at dahil sa kayamanan ay lubhang sinugatan upang masimulan ng pagtayuan ng tindahan ng ginto at tanso ang pisahan ng bilangan o bilangan. Huwag yan namang hayaan na ito'y paglaruan, pag-agawan ng taong may kumunoy ng pagnanasa at ganid ng pansarili lang. Sabay-sabay nating itulak ang nakaharang dahil matahimik na namumuhay sa lupang hinukay ang magbungkal at magtanim ang ikinabubuhay. Mula sa kanilang mata sumisigaw na luway, idinilig sa putik na natutuyo ang tunay na dahilan ay itinago tungtungan ng bahay nila'y pilit na inaagaw, sila'y inaaway, nakatalikod ninakaw, walang kamalay-malay na siningil, kinitil ng bakal na maingay na maingay.
Mindanao, lupang pamana. Mindanao, huling dambana. Mindanao, lupang minana. Mindanao.
Adila, ikaw ang lupang pangako.
At ngayon kami sa'yo ay nangangako, ipagtatanggol, ipaglalaban ko, ipagtatanggol, pawis at dugo, ipagtatanggol ang katutubo, ipaglalaban ko, kinabukasan mo. Mindanao.
And now we're back.
And of course, thank you once again Ilathala Dance Performing Arts sa ilahang Makadayawan Feels, no?
Oh,
Diba,
yun,
wala,
yun kaayo.
grabe.
Wala
I'm
man
proud
ta
to be a Mindanaoan gyud sa ilang gikanta, of course.
Wala man ta nakakadayawan katong August, pero we have the Kadayawan feels tonight.
Yes, and very rich in culture talaga ang Mindanao sa
Very
ilang
nice.
kanta.
They really use indigenous
Yes,
musical
indigenous.
instruments.
Oo.
Modern ones also.
Yes, of course. Because tuna taga Mindanao na ilahang mga instrument nagigamit. And of course, we are now on the last question, our RYM Jolo, for our guest for tonight. Now, of course, nowadays our youth, especially kanang mga youth nato no nga medyo lisod para sa ilahan na kanang mo relate pag may tag Mother Mary or pag may tag simbahan ay murag makadungog ta nga so man oy kanang murag something dili sila in touch with the topic about Mary, something like that. So we have all those the challenges. So of course sa atong mga guests, what challenges are posed to millennial and Gen Z youth in terms of Mary as a womb of creation, considering the reality of climate change today? Yes. Sige, mauna of course ang youth.
Especially this is a new understanding, no? Mary is a womb of creation.
True.
How can we use this? Is there a particular spirituality of this that we can relate? Or especially coming from the youth. Yeah.
True.
First of all, no, as before I accepted this, Mother Mary really is, I associated her with prayer, no, with intercession, etc. But when I was able to get along with reflection of her being womb of creation, that was the parang turning point of me seeing her beyond that alone, no, because it was a realization that as youth now, no, with a lot of challenges, like who would have thought a 21-year-old like me or a 5-year-old kid would be in the midst of a pandemic right now? Who would have thought that in our lifetime as youth, we will experience a pandemic, no? And it's not, in the Philippines, it's not just, like for example, the same of other countries na nakago outside na, but we are still under a quarantine. And our online classes transitioned into online, our education transitioned into online. So with those challenges, like for example, the climate crisis at hand, as what I have really shared, no, that it's ongoing, it didn't stop, no, because of the pandemic, but it continued, no, with the bushfire recently in the America, no, California, no, because of that, there's that image of struggle. No, there's that reality that as youth we are confronted with this bigger than us, no, because of that, and we tend to be frustrated. And so I see Mother Mary as a hope. As a hope, a symbolism of hope because of her undying love and devotion and faithfulness to God, no, to her yes, no, as I've shared a while ago. So because of that, the Mother Mary as a womb of creation is an opportunity for us youth, no, to be inspired by her examples, no, because challenges are there, no, before we go here, no, sa tuang kinabuhi, no, those environmental challenges are there, no, and it is exacerbated because of the man doing of the human beings na ipambuhat. And the reason why Mother Mary amidst all of these things, no, is really important of her image or her identity as a womb of creation is to acknowledge that in these challenges there's that beauty of prayer. No, prayer, not just prayer, but prayer of consistency. No, because we say na for example, I ditch plastics, no, and I also did not eat meat na kaya para mas less ang carbon footprint. I do that because there's that consciousness in me that even though I am just one person, no, but consistently as youth we do that, and we are able to be inspired by Mother Mary until the very end of her life, being assumed into heaven. Her faithfulness really, or devotion to the greater plan of God is still there, no? Very committed. And I think that is what the youth of today is gold. No, to continue despite the challenges. Because really, I come to think, oh my God, Lord, like, pandemic na gani, napos yung typhoon, napos yung bushfire, napos yung... This is the reality of the youth today. And I'm encouraging everyone to be as active as possible. Active in a sense that you can be active in your prayer life. No? Prayer life, your spirituality, your connection with Mother Mary as your constant supporter and intercessor. No? And also continue advocating for what you are doing. So siguro to put a flesh on that, since 2018, I've been with the Bajaus in Matina Playa and also in Boulevard. And because of that, I saw God in its image of kanabitang cry. No, I really resonate with that to see both the cry of the earth and the poor, because as you tackle about plastic pollution, as you tackle about climate change, there are vulnerable people affected by that. And because of that, there's that constant invitation of Mother Mary as a devotion and also a companion, to overcome those frustrations and challenges, and to be inspired to continue and to advocate for caring for a common home. So yun lang po. Sige,
Wow.
gabi kayo ng that's the
Yes.
Thank you.
I know all the youth faces a lot of challenges, of course. Yes, Brother Carl.
Maayo na kayo to. Unsa pa may akong idugang. Yeah, Amiel's answer, I think, is already very adequate, no, in terms of really articulating unsa gyud papel sa mga millennials o Generation Z, considering the urgency ingon good sa mga obispo. We are already in a catastrophe. So urgent na gyud kaayo ang kinahanglan natong buhaton ba. The question, of course, is when did this start? Kay kami, if I recall growing up as a child and even later as a teenager, even all the way to when I was in college at the Ateneo, di pa man wa pa man isguti, no? At that time, the whole idea of environment, no one spoke about ecological problems. Of course, people were a bit concerned already about the logging, kaya there was a little bit of flooding already taking place in Davao. Kaya by the 1950s, halos nahurot naman ang mga lasang diri, pero dili pa inaanak grabe. So really, if we learn from science, nagsugod man daw ni sa Industrial Revolution, no? Kadtong nagagamit na tawag fossil fuel. Unya, pero tinagyudayon from there straight all the way. So in effect, we're saying it's the older generation, all the way to my generation, that is guilty in terms of bringing about this whole challenge of climate change, you know. But especially for Americans, North Europeans, Japanese, the more developed countries, kaya dito man ang takas kaayo ang mga gamit nila sa fossil fuel. But everyone should be concerned, and especially the millennials, kay it is your world. You know, kami, a few more years, we're gone. By the time it gets really worse, we are not going to experience how it's going to even get worse. But kamo, you have another, 40 to 60 years more to go. My God, if we don't change at all, as already scientists are telling us, mas horrorful pag yun ang mahitabo sa kalibutan. There will be a lot more typhoons, a lot more droughts, a lot more fires, and so on. So, the millennials really have a big challenge to respond to the challenge of climate change. And we hope that Mary, as the Mother of Perpetual Help, can always accompany us in our desire for a radical change in the way we live.
Thank you, brother.
Yes, thank you, Brother Carl.
Ang sense of urgency, I remember an image that I remember when I was in high school, there was this image of we are in the 11th hour.
Yes.
You know, so there was really that sense of urgency in doing something about
So,
this matter.
kailangan na nating makialam. Millennials and of course, the youth of course. So, daghan kayo taog dapat na pakialaman, no? Not only sa ato ang self, but of course, our Mother Nature. Kailangan po niya ato ang help. Yes.
So now we are on the point of asking our viewers, and I think our technical team had already sorted out, and here are some questions of the youth. So, first question, any of our guest speakers can answer this one. To the youth, how can the youth of today live their devotion to the Blessed Mother Mary as a good steward of creation? So, I think the question envisions and really how can we put these together and how can we put it concretely. So,
Sister Amel.
Okay. Siguro, no, I'm sharing it because I experienced it, no. Because of this millennial and Gen Z, no, there's that, maraog, ay repetition naman ng prayer of Hail Mary, no. Like for example, it's just for the sake of saying it. But as I grew up, no, that was my thinking. But when I deepen the prayer itself, no, parang it gives you that assurance na we are sinners now that the art of our iba. But because of that, no, na may imagine mo na, as I've shared a while ago, na Mary is there, no, when Jesus was born, was Jesus was suffering in his crucifixion until he died, no. And because of that journey, no, I guess, no, it could be an inspiration for the youth. I know na we grew up just saying these words of prayers, no? And this is the temptation because we are just saying it it is. But ato ang invitation as youth is that we go beyond that. No, we go beyond those words and deepen the reality of us right now, especially that we are now, as I've said, both health and climate crisis. No, gone with the days that it's just business as usual. No? As what brother have said, no, if 60 years, ani gihapon, unsa na lang man, no. So this is really our way going forward, no, to the better normal, because it's not just the new normal itself na the same pa rin, but it's the better normal. And we hope the youth, with the inspiration of Mother Mary, we continue it with her, no, until the very day, until we meet the goal of being a green and very good environment that we envision to have.
Yes. Yes, Brother Carl.
When we speak about a devotion to Mary as mother, it can be in the form of a devotion to the Mother of Perpetual Help, or in whatever title the person wants to invoke Mary, no? But if you zero in, for example, on Mary as Mother of Perpetual Help, there is a tendency for us to relate to Mary in a rather one-way kind of relationship, that we're always asking for this and that and this and that and this and that, no? In a way that reflects also sometimes our relationship with our own biological mother. Okay, usually we run to her rather than our father when we have certain needs, no? And that's why the imagery of Mary as Mother of Perpetual Help really can resonate a lot with many of us in this culture. But I think we need to ask also, what would Mary herself ask of us? What would Mary ask of the youth of today? So that this idea of helping is not just Mary helping the young people, but there's some kind of a mutual helping of each other. And that's why I would like to see our young people develop a deep devotion to Mary, and yet at the same time emulate her example, and we can actually reflect on the Magnificat, her prayer, which is a very powerful prayer in regard to how Mary perceived of her role, no, in terms of salvation history. If young people of today can also reflect on what they can do vis-a-vis climate change, and here is where, like what we did today, no, the organic market, in relationship to the Care for the Earth ministry of the parish, that we're really challenging everyone, especially young people today, to really become much more ecologically aware and practice in their lives an ecologically friendly lifestyle. Like, don't use plastic anymore, bring an eco bag when you go shopping, don't eat junk food anymore, and all these sort of things, because these are little things that you can do so that you honor Mary in regard to her own wish also as to how we should behave.
ecological awareness.
Yeah. Thank you, brother, for that very complete, no?
Yes.
Steps.
And, question number 2 for our guest speaker for tonight. How can single mothers of the contemporary age relate to the image of Mary as mother? Wow. Sa mga single mothers bitaw.
You know, if Joseph did not respond to his own challenge to play his part, Mary would really have ended as a single mother, because we know the circumstances of how she got pregnant. In fact, considering the culture of people in Palestine, of the Jewish culture at that particular time, she would have been in a very risky sort of a situation, because women who got pregnant out of wedlock were not tolerated, and in some cases people themselves take the law into their hands. But eventually, of course, we know that Joseph came into the scene. But if you notice, if you read the scriptures, Joseph sort of disappeared very quickly. We don't even know when his life ended and when he departed. But especially towards the passion and death of Jesus, that's when Mary, being single mother, was so clearly manifested. And how a mother who is single, who doesn't have a husband by her side, and maybe not even really other very close relatives, can stand the risk, the fear, the difficulties, and the struggles of seeing your son having been tortured and going through that road to Calvary, and finally sentenced to death and hanging on the cross. No? So how Mary was able to be present and to journey with the Son because he believed that he had a mission in life is truly a model for all of us. And I can resonate very well with some of the difficulties that single mothers must face in our society today, but they can really have Mary as their model.
Yes, strong, independent woman.
That's right. And Mother Mary
Yes.
endured until the very end.
Oo.
Until the very end.
How about Sir Mel? Nakay matubag sa question?
It's enough.
It's okay na. Okay.
So for our third question, there are some youth members having bad experiences with their own mothers. How can they relate to the image of Mary as mother?
Wow. Miss Universe.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe it starts with the awareness na there's that struggle, no? Because upon questioning that, no, how can Mother Mary help the motherless? No, ana good. So in that sense, there's that awareness and acknowledgement that it is happening, no, that there are youths of today that they have that certain distance or kanang relationship na challenge with their mothers, no, and that's a good start. And as Mama Mary, no, if we put her into our journey, no, as I was also reminded by the symbolism of mother as perpetual help, Mama Mary as kanunay sa panabang, in that journey of being motherless, no, or that distance with your mother, siguro there's that constant reminder that Mother Mary can help you, no, can help you in that journey. It might not be that easy because there's that reality na nanay nahitabo. Pero the calling now, if you wanted to believe, no, that Mother Mary can help you, no, through journeying in that healing process, and it starts when you acknowledge that there is something happening in you, and that's the beauty of Mama Mary, no, because she is there for you, and that prayer of healing towards that journey, she is there with you. So,
Yeah, you know, the reality of us who are believers, and especially those of us who are devoted to Mary, we have idealized her so much because she's a saint, she has all these titles, etc. And we forget that she was a human being. And as human beings, you can imagine that she too had her shadows, no? And in fact, there are texts in the Bible nga magsumpaki ay sila. Naman to ipipilak ng mga teksto bitaw nga si Jesus. So ayun niya iyang nanay, no? There's even this stereotype of Jewish mothers, and these are depicted in movies, in plays, and so on, no? Kaya Jewish mothers are supposed to, as a stereotype, are supposed to be authoritarian and dictatorial, and so on and so forth. So let's not idealize Mary to the level where we forget that she also is a human being with shadows. But that is not to say that she is not the ideal mother, because she is, and we know that for a fact. Mao na nga siguro ang problema nato usahay, our expectation of our mother is also very idealistic, no? Now we think of her as the heroic, saintly, humble, patient, compassionate na lang kay tanan natong hangyo, dili masuko, etc. But we're forgetting the human beings, and naturally they have certain traits that we may not like. But true, we also know that there are really some mothers who are terrors, but I think they're the exception rather than the rule. So, for millennials and Gen Z that really cannot live or finding it very difficult to deal with their own mother, look for other mother figures, because they are there around you. Possibly your teachers, no, or your aunties, or a neighbor, and project that need to those women, because some of those women have very strong maternal instincts, and so you know, whatever was limited with your own mother, biological mother, can be made up with others.
There's no perfect mother, Manggilod.
That's right. And I think one thing also is, yes, we recognize that struggle, no, but we also need to know that this mother that we are trying to follow or be inspired with is not the mother who have perhaps hurt us so much.
Yes.
We need to differentiate the person who had hurt us and the Blessed Mother herself. Though we know that the interplay of emotions is happening there, especially that we have these images, you know, of a mother. So mauna. First is to recognize that yes, we're in a struggle, as what Amiel said, but also to recognize as well that the Blessed Mother is
Different.
not the mother who hurt us, no?
Yun. So question number 5. Is this continuing pandemic, COVID-19, a result of the destruction of our environment? Ang pandemic? Yes, sir?
COVID-19 or the virus itself, no, come from the Wuhan, diba? Wuhan, China, and the reason of the outbreak was that they were using or eating wildlife animals, no, and for example bats, etc. So because of siguro as I've said, diba, the business as usual, no, the practice of the naging ano ba, para siyang normalized na we tend to, ano ba, as what Pope Francis and Laudato Si shared, no, we dominated, and also maraog, parang we lessen or we became masters of our own, no, of the creation. So because of that, there's that correlation, no, that this is the reality that of the business as usual. We become dominant over nature. And because of that, there is that parang connection to what happened to COVID. No, because of I'm not saying that it's bad, no, because culturally they're doing that, but because of that bigger reality that before COVID-19 we were just business as usual. No? And because of this pandemic, we were stopped. We were able to see how our actions led to the destruction of the environment. No? So it might be because it has also that kind of reality, no, in the science based, but also that kind of awareness in you ba na we are, how do you treat nature, no? How do you see those creation outside, no? are you just, I'm more than that, no? For example, I will mine because I have my money, no? Because of that reality, the COVID-19 allowed us to see that. And when we say there's a connection, for me, it might be, no? Because of as what Pope Francis have said, that dominating power of humans over nature, when in fact we are just stewards, no? As what emphasized there.
As we know, there is a contention regarding asa gyud nagsugod ning virus, no? Kin coronavirus. There are those, including Trump, who suspected it came out of a laboratory. In other words, it was out of the tinkering of some scientists, and out of that, nag-leak kuno from the laboratory, and before you know it, it got out of control. But the other theory, and it seems to be more plausible, was the appetite of the Chinese, especially in the Wuhan market, for endangered wild animals. Okay, they have become very much in demand because of their distinct taste, and they become like very attractive cuisine. No? But how were they able to access the wild animals that usually are from the forest? It is out of the deforestation that has been taking place, no? And if it's really coming also from the bats, it's all these displacements and dislocation of many of the species of nature in universe. And there are more and more scientists who are really connecting COVID-19 with the environmental destruction. And there is reason to believe in that, because they are also saying that with the change in weather, as we know, global warming has created changes, radical changes in the weather. Some parts of the world are getting too hot, and that's why you have those forest fires and you have those droughts. And apparently, from their science point of view, it impacts on the organisms. And from out of that, all kinds of viruses appear. And given that most of our cities are polluted, they add on to that, no? Because most of the cases are really in urbanized centers. And the fact that we're also living in very compressed sort of communities, urban poor communities, squatter communities, slum communities, these are the hotbeds of the virus because people are so much in contact with each other. So certainly, there is reason to believe that there's really a strong connection between the rise of viruses like COVID-19 and what we have done to our planet.
Thank you, brother.
Yes.
And so,
thank you so much sa our online audience, of course, na nabigay ng kanilang mga questions, and we hope na-address po ang inyong mga questions sa ato ang mga guests for tonight. And of course, before we will continue, RYM ECQ will be right back.
and we're back. Again, thank you very much to our viewers who had sent their questions for our guest speakers tonight. So maybe to sum up everything that we have discussed, the rich and deep discussions that we had tonight, perhaps may we ask our guest speakers to have their last words on the topic that we have just shared.
Last insight regarding our
begin
topic.
with Brother Carl.
Well, all I want to say at this stage is to thank the organizers of this talk show, to RYM here in our parish in Davao, for inviting me. And I certainly welcome the opportunity to be in dialogue with young people. You know, with my age now, I'm like a grandfather already to many young people. I treasure whatever are the occasions when I'm able to pass on a little bit of my wisdom. Hopefully, these are learnings that I can pass on to the youth. So thank you very much for listening, viewing.
Thank you very much, brother.
And how about sir?
Thank you really, for creating a platform for the youth to share, because this is a good step, for the youth of now to be aware to have a dialogue with the brother and all those current issues that we are facing, that really are relevant, And with regards to that, I'm really thankful for the invite, and also the opportunity to share and also to have this dialogue with everyone here.
Wow. Thank you once again, Brother Carl and Sir Amel. Of course, before they leave, ihatag na gamayng pahalipay, of
Yeah,
course.
we give our
Our
tokens
token
for
of
that.
appreciation sa ato ang guest speaker. They have the cap of RYM ECQ. Brother Carl, daghan kaayong salamat. And of course, Sir
Thank you very
Amel,
much.
thank you so much. We learned a lot from you and I hope makita-kita pa tabalik diri sa among show.
Future episode.
Yes, of
Future
course.
episode.
Again, thank you so much, Brother Carl and Sir Amel. Thank you so much.
Thank you also.
Ay.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Brother Carl. Okay, so we learned a lot from this topic, RYM Julo, di ba? So, of course, ayan na. And, of course, daghan po na to na ng our audience, di
It
ba?
was really a very rich discussion from our two guest speakers tonight. No, mapasalamaton kaita that the wisdom of Brother Carl and the wisdom of Amiel from the young really gave us this certain insight wherein we could add in the discussions that are ongoing, maybe at home,
Yes.
maybe in the circle of friends that we have, or in school, or somewhere else. And I hope these insights that we gained tonight will really push us forward to do something concrete, something for the better. For the better.
Yes, for the better, of course. And, of course, naghatag silang insight to deepen our knowledge about the topic, of course, with our Mother Mary, and of course, for our environment. Ayan. And, of course, tatay sa ating last segment na ba? Hindi pa. Of course, we have our hashtag GCQ, gustong chika at kwento.
Now in this segment, right, the host, I think my partner has something to share with us what she got from the discussions nga atong gihimo ganina.
So, ako una.
Yes, ikaw una.
So honestly, ladies first. Honestly, I've learned a lot. Maybe one of the learnings that I will treasure is na-deepen ang ako ang faith to Mother Mary. Of course, kailan naman ko daan kay Mary, but through this episode, of course, I really appreciate Mother Mary, not only Mother of Jesus, but of course, the images na yung ginapakita sa atua. She is really a mother of perpetual help na in times of this pandemic, of course, we can pray to her our petitions, of course, na mawala ng COVID. And of course, I see Mary, sa ingon nga ni Sir Amel kaganina, he sees Mary as a hope sa tanan, of course, diba? A hope na we, the youth, can be a big help not only for themselves but also for our environment through the help of our mother, of course. Ayun, Carva and Jolomot, siya
Thank you very much, Shell. Mag-angayan na kay si Chanel mapilog Miss Universe, no?
Gabi siya?
Dito, there are two things actually that really struck me in the discussions nga atong gihimo ganina.
Yes.
First is the role of the Blessed Mother in the whole salvation history. One is her participation, no? Her participation. I think that's her yes was actually one of the important events in the life of our faith, and which is really worth following. Because it was also in that yes, nga sama sa giingon ni Sir Amiel ganina, sometimes we are caught up with situations that are bigger than us, no, kana bitong out of our hands, beyond our reach. But if you look at the Blessed Mother, even at the time when she was confronted with that good news from Angel Gabriel, she found it like she was astonished. No, she was astonished. But because there was that great faith in God, and she was able to participate, and she was able to say her fiat, her yes. And I think that's worth following. That even though sometimes we become cynical on these matters, no, like sometimes it sounds like a cliche maybe to other people, and we are confronted with very big happenings around us. But if we look back to the life of the Blessed Mother, even though how she was confronted with such big news from Gabriel, but she was still able to say yes because of that faith that God will never abandon her and she will be accompanied. In fact, she was assured, do not be afraid, Mary.
Yes. Oo.
Yeah,
The big
that's-
yes, no?
Yeah,
O, ito siya pinaka, ano.
And it's not just a passive yes, no? It was an active yes.
Yes.
That's why after that, she was able to sing her Magnificat. She was able to say in the hills of Judea, her Magnificat.
True. So,
Which were strong words, actually. Yeah, that's right.
big words, strong words, good ang yes. Of course. So, Taganiha, we were able to witness the performance of Ilathala Performing Arts ka RYM Julo. At this point, we will give the floor to their director and choreographer aron ma-invite ang atong mga viewers and to promote their group. So, kailangan na to silang atuon, of course. Ayan. The director and choreographer. Oh, bawjud ko ani no? Kay grabe yun kayo ni. Hello, mayong gabi, Kuya Ralyon.
Isad og salamat kayo sa Redemptorist og sa RYM sa pag-invite sa mo.
Of course, kami ang dapat magpasalamat, no? Kay kabalobi, grabe inyong schedule, hectic kaayo. But then, hatagid mo og time for the Lord, di ba? So, Kuya, asa man na mo makita? Please invite our online viewers.
Ang Ilathala katong mga pipila ka kuan, pila ka adlaw or last week ang NCCA National Commission for Culture in the Arts na sa dance department nag-invite sila o nag-audition sila og more than 200 or 150 dance groups diri sa Mindanao ug ila tong gisala o kaluoy sa Ginoo naapil ang Ilathala performance
Wow!
sa 55 ka mga grupo diri sa Mindanao kay 55 ka groups sa Mindanao and sa Bisaya, sa Luzon ug sa NCR.
Wow!
Tapos ang launching ana is this coming October 17.
Hapit na.
Makita ang Ilathala Performing Arts sa katong NCCAR sa PTV 11 no? PTV channel no? So dito siya makitaan o ang Ilathala di ay unta mahumanan ning pandemya kay makitaan po ninyo ang Ilathala Performing Arts mag-perform sa MTS.
Wow! Of course. So, good luck kuya no sa inyohang mga feature na mga
feature na
guestings.
pasundayag, no?
Yes. And true sa ilahang gipasundayag no, I'm proud of Davaoenyo and Mindanaoans gayud ka RYM Julo. So, Kuya Ralyon, again, please invite our viewers sa inyohang mga event.
Amo kamong giimbitaran nga mutan-aw karong October 17 sa PTV channel sa NCCAR. Makita ninyo dito ang Ilathala Performing Arts. Og daghan king salamat usab sa RYM og sa Redemptorist kay batanon mo pugod ri sa una.
True. Batanon yun si Keralyo diri sa una.
Dili na
Once
pugod
again.
ninyo.
Yeah. Once again, thank you so much, Kuya Ralyon, and of course, Ilathala Dance Performing. Thank you so much sa inyong tanan. Thank you so much for sharing your talents, of course, and your time sa Amua.
That's right.
And, of
So,
course,
partner,
RYM Jolo.
Now, we again thank all the people who have supported us in
Yes.
this endeavor. The Redemptorist Community Davao, the Redemptorist Youth Ministry, the parish priest of our Mother of Perpetual Help, and all our ka-RYM viewers there in Facebook, and even from other apostolic units, from Luzon, from the Visayas. Thank you very much for your continual support in this help for us in this time of pandemic.
Indeed. And I hope you've learned a lot also sa ato ang input this evening because kami daghan kayo mig natunan, of course. And
good.
we look forward for the next episode ka RYM
And
Jolo.
we will post it in our RYM Davao and RYM Philippines Facebook pages, and I hope you keep
Yes.
supporting us in all our endeavors. Once again, this is Ray Julo Biliran,
And I'm Chanel Marie R. Valien.
now
Signing off. Bye! God bless everyone. And of course, thank you sa ating mga crew, of course. And the director, Mr. Paul Mark Divino. Thank you so much for our technical team. And our guests, thank you so much. Ilathala Performing Arts, thank you so much. God bless everyone. Have a nice evening.
In different places, walking many journeys. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Jungle.